Hey everybody, it's Reinhardt here again, back with another black and white Pokemon analysis. Today, we're going to be discussing the cavern Pokemon known as Terrakion. So let's get started by taking a look at its typing, abilities, and stats. So first off, Terrakion sports the very unique rock fighting dual typing, and I think Terrakion is actually the only Pokemon to ever get this typing. But with this typing, you are resistant to normal, fire, poison, um, bug, rock, and dark, and take super effective damage from water, grass, fighting, ground, psychic, and steel. So there's quite a bit of resistances and weaknesses that you do have. So it's kind of like a good slash bad typing in my opinion. But the great thing about it is that you get really good stab moves to use with both the rock and fighting typing, and since they're both really good types or attacking types, it's a great thing to have. I can't really say any more about that. But as for its ability, it gets Heart of Justice, which is an ability that all of the Musketeer Pokemon get. I think that's what these guys are called. But what it does is it makes it so that every time you're hurt by a dark type attack, so like a Dark Pulse or Crunch or something like that, which you resist anyways, you'll get a +1 attack boost, which is really cool. So, as most people think, and as I said in the previous video, Heart of Justice does not give you immunity to dark type moves, you just get an attack boost from it. So that's really all I need to say about that. As for the stats though, you get 91 HP, coupled with 90 defense and 90 special defense, meaning that this Pokemon is very capable of being a defensive Pokemon. It has the, I think, best overall defenses out of all of the Pokemon of this kind of legendariness. So that's a really cool thing, and you can definitely make use of its defenses because of that. As for its attacking stats, though, it has 129 physical attack and 72 special attack. And since it only learns 2 special moves plus hidden power, you're probably never going to be using the special attack ever. And he is actually the best physical attacker out of all of these guys. So 129 physical attack is definitely something that will be able to allow you to do a lot of damage to anything. And lastly, we have its speed, which is the same as all the other Pokemon, which is 108, meaning that you have some really good speed to use with your very high attacking power. But with that, let's take a look at a couple of set ideas that might work with Terrakion. So for this first set, you can either choose between an Adamant or a Jolly Nature. Adamant will increase your physical attack and lower your special attack, and Jolly will increase your speed and lower your special attack. So really, it's whichever one seems more important to you to have, a higher speed stat or a higher attacking stat. As for the ability, it's going to be Heart of Justice because it's the only ability it gets. And then for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into HP, 252 into physical attack, and 252 into speed, so that you could either have your max attack or max speed, or the max attack and speed that you can get with the nature that's boosting the other stat. And as for the item, we're going to be making use of a Life Orb to allow us to do as much damage as possible. You can also make use of a Balloon, as I have listed, because that's a pretty cool item to use on this thing since it is weak to ground and will allow it to easily switch in on things like that. As for the moveset though, first we're either going to be using a stat boosting move that will boost your speed or your physical attack. So for speed we have Rock Polish, and for physical attack we have Swords Dance. If you're going to use Rock Polish, I suggest using an Adamant Nature so that you can have a higher physical attack. And if you're going to use Swords Dance, I suggest you use a Jolly Nature so that you have a higher speed to use with your boosted physical attack. But obviously you can mix and match these whichever way you want to. As for the attacking moves though, the first one is Close Combat, which is an extremely famous fighting type move with really good power, but the only downside is the defense drops you get every time you use it. But chances are you're going to be able to take something out with that move, so it's really no problem when you want to use it. But for its next move, we're going to be using Rock Slide to be a little bit more safe than using Stone Edge, but obviously you could easily swap that out to use Stone Edge for the greater power. But personally, I think being safer with higher accuracy, and still being able to do a lot of damage because it does get stab is kind of more important. Plus, I like the chance of flinch because that's always a really cool thing. And since this Pokemon's really fast, there's a lot of things you could possibly outspeed to flinch. As for your last move, you could either make use of Earthquake or X-Scissor to give you even more type coverage. Personally, though, I would go with X-Scissor just because it hits grass and dark and psychic types, which your other moves aren't super effective against, except for close combat being super effective against dark. But having the advantage of being able to deal a super effective move against a grass type is always great because of the fact that you are weak to grass type moves. Earthquake, however, is pretty common, but since you have close combat and rock slide, you really don't need Earthquake since it kind of, or those two attacking types kind of cover everything that Earthquake is good against except for poison, I think. So you really don't need to be using Earthquake on this guy, but I put it there just in case people want to make use of it. As for this last set, it's going to be a bulky stat boosting Terrakion. So first we're going to give it a careful nature to increase its special defense but lower its special attack. And then we're going to be using the ability Heart of Justice because it is the only ability that you get with this guy. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into HP to give you your max HP, 128 into physical defense to give you your some pretty good bulk in the physical defense stat, and then 128 also into special defense to give you some nice bulk into that stat, and the careful nature will also help that stat out more. Of course, you could always run an impish nature as well, because that will boost your physical defense but lower your special attack, but I think having special defense on this guy is a little bit more important than physical defense in my opinion. But with the item, we're going to be running leftovers this time as a way to recover HP a little bit at the end of every turn. As for the moves though, the first one we're going to be making use of is Swords Dance as a way to boost your physical attack by 2 stages. Excuse the people behind me. Or outside of the hallway, sorry. And then the next move we're going to be using is known as Sacred Sword, which is the signature move of all these like Musketeer Pokemon. Basically, it's a good 90 base power physical fighting type move, and it also bypasses stat boosts by your opponent in the physical defense area. So that's really cool, and can definitely allow this Pokemon to do a lot of damage to anything, even if it's trying to set up defensively. Again, we're going to be using Rock Slide as your other stab move, and then lastly, we're going to be making use of Quick Attack, which might seem really weird, but since you do have really high physical attack after a Swords Dance, having the priority while also being bulky is a really cool combination of stats and moves. Because obviously, since you're going to be bulky, you're not going to be fast, but because obviously Quick Attack is there, you can bypass your low speed by having a priority move. So it's a really cool thing to round off this whole set. Even though you don't get stabbed from it and it is pretty weak in terms of power, it's still really cool to use and can definitely be surprising to things that will not expect it, and definitely allow Terrakion to also be a useful revenge killer if you need it to be. But that is it for Terrakion, so take care guys and goodbye.